Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm out here enjoying a nice walk out by the river on my lunch break. Something I wanted to address about the whole calories in, calories out. So let's talk about dieting. If you have somebody that says a calorie is a calorie and all that matters is calories in versus calories out, and they're giving you nutritional advice or training advice, just run away. They're not wrong completely in the sense that you can't eat more calories than you can burn and lose weight. But for somebody to say a calorie is just a calorie and all calories are equal, that's a sad mistake and hugely misleading. What they're doing is they're pulling from Dr. Layne Norton, who is a freaking genius, and I would never ever argue with anything he says, because not only does he know the science behind it, he studied it, hell, he has a PhD in it, but he's also done it. He's one of the world's top powerlifters. I think he placed second at Worlds, just to the non-human, I think it was Jesse Norris that beat him, and I'm pretty sure Jesse Norris was born on another planet. He's also competed in bodybuilding as a natural or as a tested athlete, also tested powerlifter, and he would get shredded. He got absolutely shredded for tested or non-tested athlete. He would get shredded, probably put non-tested athletes to shame. But what a lot of people do is they quote him and saying that all that matters is calories in, calories out. And they're pulling from stuff that he's saying and cherry picking shit. And if they actually listen to what he's saying and looked at what he was saying, he goes a little deeper into it and saying, no, a calorie is not really just a calorie. And yes, while calories in versus calories out matter, there are certain things you can eat, certain foods at certain times that could take advantage of the metabolic differences, I guess you could say, of those foods. I've had a discussion with people before, and I'll bring up the point that so somebody could eat a 2,000 calorie diet of lean meat and a 2,000 calorie of Krispy Kreme donuts and be fine. And the response was, well, as long as they're eating less than they're burning. And if your thoughts are, yes, you can eat 2,000 calories of Krispy Kreme donuts, as long as you're burning 2,500, you're fine. I'm sure most of these people don't believe what they're saying. I think they're trying to make their own point. In which, yeah, I guess you could eat nothing but Krispy Kreme donuts and keep losing weight, but you're probably going to end up not only going to crush your metabolism, you're going to be malnourished and probably just going to feel like shit. So that brings me to some other things. Now, when Layne Norton says studies have shown that as long as protein and calories in and calories out are accounted for, carbohydrate intake and fat intake doesn't matter. And that hormones like insulin don't matter during fat loss. Well, on paper, I think he's right. On paper. But what he's not really telling people, and what I'm sure he knows, is that people on higher carbohydrate diets, their glucose will spike, then their insulin will spike, and once that insulin clears the glucose, what do? You crave sweets. Why? Because your body has cleared out all the glucose from your blood and used it, and now it wants more, and it wants it fast. And the fastest form of glucose is to eat sugar. And so it's kind of misleading in with what he's saying, even though he is, of course he's correct. Because like I said before, I'd never argue with him. I mean, you kind of can't. The guy knows exactly what he's talking about. Which brings me to another point. there is no one diet that's superior above all others. And I think a lot of people will say that. The best diet, like everybody says, is the best diet for you, is the one you can stick to. For, I think, most people, at first it's not easy, but for most people, a low carbohydrate, high fat, higher fat, and a moderately high protein diet is going to be the easiest one to follow in the long run, because it helps to manage that insulin spike. When I'm dieting down, when I go for a low carb modified keto style diet, I'll eat 3 times a day, and I'm usually having to remind myself to eat because I don't get hungry, because of the protein, and the fat satiates me, because fat's very satiating. As to where when I go for my higher carb diet days, I'll eat a sufficient meal, and an hour later, hour and a half later, I'm starving. My blood sugar's dropping and I'm starving, which is good. That's a sign that your metabolism is doing what it's supposed to do. It's running at a high rate and efficiently, and it's running efficiently, and it's burning up and using the calories that you're putting in. And that also brings me to a point of where people say a calorie is just a calorie. Well, it really isn't, because your body will burn about 40% of the calorie intake from protein. So if you eat 100 calories of protein, your body's going to burn about 40% of those calories just to utilize that, just to break that protein down, as opposed to fat, which is significantly less, and carbohydrates, which is even more significantly less. And so if you have a nutritionist who's going to start, or not a nutritionist, but if you have a coach or whatever, and they're just going to cut calories to start with, they're going to say, well, let's just take in 1,500 calories. And then once your metabolism stalls, I'll say, okay, well, let's take out another 300 calories. And then when your metabolism slows again, all they can do is just keep pulling calories. What they're failing to realize is that the number one option is to increase activity. And there's always room for more activity. There's stand efforting's 10-minute walks. That's 10 minutes a couple times a day. That's easy. That's easy activity. It's parking farther away from the building you're going into. That's taking the stairs as opposed to the elevator. There's always room. There's always more calories that you can burn. And that's a lot easier than taking away calories. That's my number one. Whenever I want to start writing a diet plan for somebody, my first step is to have them write out everything they eat for a week. Write it all out. I don't care if it's all chocolate chip cookies and cake. I don't care. You have to know what you're taking in first. And then most people fail because they go from eating 1 or 2 horrible meals a day, and drinking pop and drinking juice, drinking alcohol 3 or 4 times a week, and just eating diets full in fats and sugars. And they're gonna go on a diet, so they take everything out, and they're gonna go, I'm gonna go salad and chicken. That's it. I'm gonna eat salad and chicken 3 times a day. Well, that works for about a week, maybe 2. By about the 3rd week, they're going absolutely crazy. They're starving, and they're just hating life. Number one, because you went on a diet. A diet is a temporary solution to something. Diet means I'm going to go on a diet. That means at some point in time that diet's going to end, usually a lot sooner than what people want, and with greater ramifications than what they realize. Once they bounce back, they usually even put on more weight because they've crushed their metabolism, and now they've deprived themselves of all the foods that they like, so they're overeating it. It's kind of like that stupid Omni-Drop diet. That is the most ridiculous shit I've ever seen in my life. Whoever came up with that is is a genius for their marketing skills and a freaking idiot, just like the people that decided to do it. I can get into that later. My number one step for somebody after I find out what they eat and their activity level is to try to increase their activities just a little bit. And then I pull something out, take something away, maybe one thing, just one thing. If you drink pop, let's cut it back. Take away some of the pop, not all of it. You don't have to take away all of it. Take away some of it. Switch over to diet pop. And then instead of just taking things away, I prefer to add in. I say I want you to eat X amount of protein 3 to 4 times a day. I want you to eat 4 servings of vegetables. And I like to see you get in 2 to 3 servings of a non-starchy, non-sugary fruit. You know, something like berries. Berries are great. Add something like that in. I'll add the foods in. And then once they get used to that, instead of taking it away, I'll try to add a little bit more in. If we're gonna go low carb for them, which I think is the best way to go starting out, then I'll try to add in some more fats, some more fattier meals, and kind of increase their meals. I'd say I want you to eat three pretty large meals with a significant amount of fat and protein, and then I want you to get in X amount of vegetables a day and X amount of fruit a day. Well, then they start finding out that they're not quite so hungry. Their cravings are getting cut back more and more because number one, they're satiated. The fat and protein is satiating them, so they're not getting hungry. And number two, they're getting the proper nutrients their body needs. Most people that are overweight are severely malnourished, so that's also why they crave so much food and they want to eat a lot. It's because their body's saying, hey, I'm not getting nourishments, so they keep eating more and more and more, and it's all junk food anyways. And then we just keep kind of adding and adding until we end up starting to subtract once they've gotten used to the newer way of eating. Not a diet, but a newer way of eating. And that also leads me into talking about some of the different ways you can manipulate. Now this is for these are for like more experienced athletes or somebody going, that just doesn't want to drop, 10, 15 pounds. We're talking about somebody that wants to get really lean or do a weight cut for a meet while getting stronger, which is possible to do. You're not going to get significantly stronger, but you can get a little stronger, and you can implement carb cycling along with you can implement high fat days, most of your days being high fat, and then you can implement carb cycling. So you'll have 1, maybe 2 days a week where you significantly cut your calories back, but almost a lot of your food, say 60-70% is from carbohydrates. That way you can refill those glycogen storages and get some good heavy workouts. I like to do those on my off days. I like to schedule my heavy training days. My heavy training days the day after I have an off day, and I use my off day as my cheat day or refuel day, refeed day, whatever somebody wants to call it. And that's something I've always done, and I feel that it works really good, as opposed to the people that opt to use their high carb days on training days. Well, I like to use it more as a glycogen refill your glycogen, as opposed to eating a bunch of carbs to try to fuel a workout, because that's not quite the way it works. So that brings me to the end, where I just wanted to talk about the differences in calories, and how a calorie is not just a calorie, and that while calories in versus calories out, is the premises of weight loss. There's a lot of ways to go about it. There's a lot of ways to go about it, make you more successful, as opposed to having a coach or somebody that just wants to pull calories and cut calories. So, well, that's it. Until next time, later.